his nature is sarcasm.
Yes.
And his nature is to ridicule players who don't get it or who don't come up clutch in big moments, or he would just tear them apart verbally in front of the team. Guess who? Blessed. Leave him be. It's okay. We'll win in spite of him. What did Brady do all those years under Belichick? It's okay. Swallow it.
Right.
We're going to be okay. We will win in spite of this.
Right.
He's got a lot of good things to say. Embrace the good things and forget about the sarcasm and the ridicule, because it's all okay. We will survive this, right? Okay, so that's Tim Duncan all over. It's Brady all over.
Right.
I don't get any of that from Steph off the court. I get the humility off the court, and it's why every other national TV commercial during the finals features Steph Curry, because he comes across off the court as all-time humble, right?
He does.
Okay, so now that the shocking dichotomy is he goes on the floor, and this is where Steve Kerr compares it to the Jordan-esque arrogance that he knows he's the best player on the floor. I will give you that.
Right.
But he has to demonstrate it with all the showboating. I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
But because he's so humble and beloved off the floor, because he revolutionized the game, because so many kids love Steph, because he's so lovable, because so many kids of average size can relate to Steph heaving threes before they can relate to Michael Jordan slam dunking. Right? You can't relate, because how many people can actually dunk? Well, it's not that many in our population who can actually dunk, right? What would be the percentage? I don't know. How many males or females in this country, how many could actually dunk? It's small.
It's a very small percentage.
Wouldn't it be like 2%?
It's double the percentage that got people that can shoot threes as opposed to dunking.
Thank you.
I can just grab Skip. You see people, they grab people out the stands and they make a three-point. They make a three-point shot for $5,000-$10,000. You're not pulling somebody out the stand and say dunk it for $10,000 and they do it.
So Steph revolutionized the game on the floor, and he revolutionized the way that people can consume and relate to the game, because all of a sudden this little guy. Some people say he's 6'3". I think he's 6'2"-ish. This little guy who looks even smaller compared to all the giants on the floor, he does that, and it's electrifying to watch. It is wildly exciting. I will give you that. He invented the logo 3. He invented being able to move without the ball. Not Reggie was doing it, but Steph, as Kerr points out, he moves without the ball, and with the ball, he can just go ahead and create his own three.
Yeah, nobody's been able to shoot the ball. The Reggie couldn't handle the ball. Ray Allen couldn't handle the ball like Steph. Steph can literally dance with the ball in his hands and get that shot off. Okay, so where did all this come from? Well, it's Steve Kerr's trying to say that he needed that to sort of validate his dominion on the floor, where he dominates, where he wants to show everyone he's the best player on the floor. And I've never loved it. You said, well, you're not going to criticize it, but it was always shocking to me that nobody complained about it. And the reason they couldn't is because he was back-to-back MVPs. He was a unanimous MVP, and he's the greatest three-point shooter ever. And then we leap all the way to he's the greatest shooter ever. So I think he is so beloved by the media and the fans that nobody's going to publicly criticize him. But I believe that behind closed doors, even the Celtics are saying, hey, we're going to let him showboat on us tonight? We're going to let him do the lookaways? Are we going to let him put us to sleep? Really? No, I don't believe so. And Skip, you mentioned something about what Coach Popovich and comparing him to Coach Belichick and Brady. Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe Steve Kerr has coached Stephen Curry as hard as Coach Belichick, Coach Brady, as hard as Pop, Coach Duncan? No.
No. I mean, it's not Steve Kerr's way.
Exactly.
Because he's basically a nice guy to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And he's more instructive. You know, let me tell you how to do this. Because Steve Kerr was a really good shooter. He's one of the greatest free throw shooters ever.
Yeah.
So I think there's a connection between Steph and Clay and Steve Kerr, because they know he can. Well, I think he goes on the floor when practice is over with them, and he'll shoot them for whatever they want to shoot for.
And no matter what, Skip, he did make a big shot in the NBA Finals.
He made a big shot.
He was trusted to take a shot, and he made that shot. And so I get what Steve Kerr is trying to say. It's like, yeah, you look at the guy, he's 6'2", 6'3". They call him the babyface assassin, but he's a cold-blooded killer. And so I see
Because, like I said, Skip, I think that's the reluctancy that people have of putting him in the top 10. A 6'3" guy's never even been close to being mentioned in the top 10.
I told you yesterday the shortest guy in the top 10 is the guy who's at my number one, who's Jordan at 6'6".
So when you look at it like that,
and obviously in his day, Jordan could just jump out of the gym, so he could play 7 feet tall.
He played above the rim.
Right.
Steph plays below the rim, but he plays beyond the three-point line. And so they're the differences. So, and that's where I'm like, okay, Curry, if you want to say they're a family man, you know, they had the family, they're about the wife, they're about the kids, okay, I can see the calmness off the court. But the arrogance that Steph Curry displays on the court, which I have no problem with, I never saw Tim Duncan do any of that. Did Tim Duncan even celebrate? I mean, so that's where Kerr lost me, Skip. I get what he's trying to do because they're both superstars, and it just goes to show you what he thinks. He knows what Tim Duncan, having played with him, now he's coached. Steve Kerr's had a pretty good seat. Skip, he had years for playing with Michael Jordan, and he goes to have another couple of years playing with Timmy Duncan. So he had
and then he gets
now he's coaching Steph. So for basically 30 years, he's had one of the best seats in the house. I don't know if anybody else is going to have a better seat considering spanning that length of time.
I mean, you could say Phil Jackson. Yeah, but not as a player. Phil was on a pretty great Knicks team, right, back in the day.
But, man, I mean, you get Mike, who you believe is number one, and then you get Timmy Duncan. It's hard to say Tim Duncan is not a top 10 player. And now you get Steph with another championship, who I believe is going to be top 10. But, Skip, that's the only I'm going to push back or say I disagree with Steve Kerr is that the similarities on the court. Because what Steph displays, I never saw any of that from Tim Duncan, although they both did one thing. They got the job done.
Okay, so now back to Jordan. Kerr has said on several occasions that Steph reminds him of Jordan because every night you'll see something you've never seen before. And I've told you that about Jordan in my past from my year of covering him in 1998 in Chicago. Every game, I would sit back and say, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Right.
And Steve Kerr's point is that Steph does so much that it all blends together on a nightly basis. Okay, I will give you all of that.
Yeah.
And even go so far as to say, I've just never seen anyone so confident and lacking any sort of discretion when it comes to shooting the ball. And I say that in a good way. So he's saying that Steph reinvented what was a bad shot to good shot, right? Because he kept going farther and farther out until finally the coach has to sit back and say, I'm okay. Go ahead, because you can do that.
Right.
All right. Now, for my bottom line, you disagree with this, but I'm going to stress this again. This is where Steve Kerr completely loses me when he brings up Duncan and Jordan. I still haven't seen Steph Curry do it on the biggest stage. I'm talking about do it, where you take over and you are the clear-cut Finals MVP. Maybe we're about to see this now.
Well, even if he isn't the Finals MVP, Skip, the question is that in all these finals, this might be the first time that Steph Curry is the best player. He was not the best player on the court when he faced the Cavaliers in 2015, even though they won. LeBron James was better.
I'll buy that.
And when Kevin Durant came, Kevin Durant was the best player on the team.
I'll buy that,
even
and I'll buy it again.
If you want to say Steph was more important, okay, I'll give you that. But he was not a better player. So this might be
you could argue Steph versus Kawhi because Kevin was hurt, right? And Kevin had his moment that he came in and started looking like he was going to take the game over, and he tore his Achilles.
And guess what? He looked like the best player on the court.
Kevin Durant did. Okay, I'll give you that. So if you want to disqualify it just because of that little flash of Kevin Durant.
Tim Duncan in the finals. Tim Duncan, until he got the last one, Tim Duncan was the best player on the court in all those NBA finals.
Right, I buy that. And remember, so Steph takes advantage of Kevin Love hurt and then Kyrie hurt in game one in overtime.
Correct.
And then he takes advantage of Iggy inserted in the starting lineup, which changes everything. And I think it's still the greatest strategic move in NBA Finals history by a coach with Steve Kerr saying, you know what, I'm going to start him, I'm going to put him on LeBron, and I'm also going to hope LeBron has to work more on defense against Iggy, which is what happened in the game 4. Okay. Then we go to they go recruit, led by Steph, they go recruit Kevin, and it goes Kevin, Finals MVP, leading to 2019 versus Kawhi. And in those last 4 games, 3, 4, 5, and then the closeout game 6 at Oracle, Steph shot 33% from 3 in those 3 games. Well, he's the greatest shooter ever. You just got to be better. And then he misses the walk-off shot that could have forced the Game 7. So he was horrendous, obviously, in the collapse in 2016 when they were up 3-1. And then those last 3 games, that is as shocking a meltdown as I've seen since LeBron, obviously, in the 2011 finals. But the point is, I just haven't seen enough where I say, well, there's that. Well, what? And you can throw a lot of numbers. Well, he did average this, this, and this. But I'm talking about the guts of this. When it's time to be Michael Jordan or Tim Duncan and just take over a finals the way I've seen both of those guys do very consistently. Listen, Tim Duncan, well, even against LeBron in 2007, I know Tony Parker got the MVP, but Duncan was just, he was a force. LeBron didn't have Tim Duncan. So in the end, and what did Timmy tell him in the hallway after?
It's going to be your lead.
It'll be your time coming up, but right now is not your time. Well, he knew it was Duncan time. And again, Duncan put them in position in Game 6 of 2013. The Cordons are out, and they're about to get presented the trophy. And then Ginobili missed a free throw, and Kawhi missed a free throw, and you know the rest of the story. And it's a Ray Allen game, okay? Well, Tim Duncan they're up 5 with 23 seconds left. What?